Okay, this is like probably the most recommended slash suggested thing that people are asking for me to check out. One thing that I've given pause to checking a lot of this stuff out because um, little children, have a changing instrument, right? They change all the time. Every growth spurt, your instrument changes, right? Because the instrument's the body. So I generally don't think it's fair to talk about children's technique. In fact, there's actually a very prevalent school of thought that suggests that you don't teach kids technique at all. Instead, you teach them like musicianship because that stuff will stick with them. Whereas the technique, I mean, the second a body changes, whatever. But I have listened to this a lot, and there's still some really cool stuff that she's doing technically. And so let's get into it. That sound. Dang. That's a really rich sound. And it's not like there's a lot of times when I see kids like on those shows like America's Got Talent or whatever, they're shoving their tongue super far back to sound older, to sound richer and darker, and that's like super not great technique, right? But that's not what's happening here. Gorgeous sound. That E vowel, that's your sign, right? So if you're shoving your tongue down your throat, your E vowel doesn't sound like an E. It sounds like a oh. Like, just try it. E, right? You don't sound like an E anymore. So the fact that her E is like super clean and she still has that sound, that's incredible. Now that I have some direction, it would sure be nice to be back home where there's love and affection. Wow. And that maybe I can convince time to slow up, giving me enough time in my life to grow up. Time be my friend. And her posture, a big part of having like a really cool, smooth, natural sound is having posture that reflects that very idea, right? Like very relaxed, very upright and efficient posture. It's how you're going to get the most relaxed sounds, how you're going to get the most powerful sound. And her posture is just immaculate. It matters a lot. It affects the entirety of breathing. There's a breathing video on my channel. I won't go into detail with it here, but dang. Suddenly my world's gone and changed its place, but I still know where I'm going. I have had my mind spun around in space, and yet I watched it growing. Oh, if you're listening, God, please don't make it hard to know it. We should believe the things that we see. Tell us, should we run away? Should we try? She's just so committed to the performance. That, like, I talk in the beginning of the video, I'm like, oh, kids they can't have good, can't have good technique, or they can't have reliable technique. And then she has like actually a better technique than most people. And her body is still changing, so that's incredible. But then also, what 11-year-old commits this much to a performance? I mean, this is like boom. Yes, audience, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, you better recognize. That's crazy.
That's nice. Oh, that's nuts. Oh, and the modulation. Right, she hits the modulation. Boom. It's a crazy good high note, too. That's silly. That's not fair. That's so ridiculous. Wow. Okay. Click your heels. Yeah, you were... Okay. That's not right. So, I mean, like, I think that the way that the best explanation that I can have, and you know, this is a shot in the dark, really, as to explain, like, how someone can be so good so young. You know, singing is a physical thing. You know, I use the word vocal athlete a lot, and I think that that's a fair term because the body is the instrument. You have to use your entire body. You have to have good posture. You can't be too tight because if you're too tight, you're expel too much air. You won't have control. It'll affect your sound. Your tongue will go back in a protective way. Your soft palate will drop. Like, there's all kinds of consequences for having a really tight torso. So, like, you know, I don't think that she had a teacher. Like, you know, I think she's just incredibly body aware. And I would imagine that she's had a lot of performance experience, either through gospel singing or whatever. Like, she's just clearly had a lot of opportunities to be in front of people, and has been singing actively until this point, or up until this point. Yeah, the level, there's a level of genius here. Like, I think, right, like that level of body awareness to achieve that level of singing. You know, can you teach that? I've had one teacher who I think is a good enough teacher where she can help people with that element of singing, but like the added difficulty that you get from being a kid and having to adjust to your ever-changing body and still being able to execute all of that crud. I mean, that's insanity. So yeah, Jasmine Sullivan. Making the rest of us mortals inadequate. But you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it to swallow the pride and the ego because that's gorgeous singing, right? So that's my take on that. Wow. That's not fair.